Okay. Good morning, everybody. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Inshallah, we have a new lesson today. This lesson is talking about graphing, graphing what? Polar equations. Graphing polar equations. So please pay attention. We have 6 cases in this lesson. I would like you to concentrate from the beginning of the lesson. Okay. Yes, graphing polar equations. Graphing polar equation. Before I start, guys, here my lesson as here graphs of polar equation and explain all examples we have in our book. I would like guys to only tell you first the cases, the whole idea of the lesson, and then let's start by solving and explaining the exercises we have in the lesson. Okay. If you have an equation like r is equal to 2, this is the first equation we have. How to graph r equals 2? To graph this point, yes? To graph this equation r equals 2, we can start first by making a table here, which is x and y or r and theta. It's polar equation. So instead of x and y, we will write here r and theta. Yes. And let's put here some points. You know the unit circle angles like pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3. These angles shown up here. We're gonna use them, guys. Pi over 6 and all multiples of pi over 6. So I'm gonna take pi over 6 and 2 pi over 6, which is pi over 3. And next, pi over 6 times 3, which is pi over 2. And pi over 6 times 4, which is 2 pi over 3. Okay?
Are this lesson 6.2?
6.4. 6.4 graphing.
Oh, yes.
Yes, graphing what? Graphing the
This example
polar
from you,
equations.
right? Not example one. This.
Yeah. This all here, it's not in the book. So I would like you to pay attention.
Okay.
Okay? And then when we finish all, we will start by solving the exercises in the book. 2 pi over 3, which is 4 times pi over 6, which is 2 pi over 3, and so on. Let's find here, guys, the values. When I say pi over 6, so no theta, so it's constant. So it stay the same 2, stay 2, stay 2, right? Yeah, because r gives here, when the angle, the r is still 2. So we have to reverse only the coefficients up here. When the angle, I'm
Yes, the
sorry,
angle and
yes,
the
the angle is here. Sorry, yes, when the angle is here and the r is here. So when r is still 2 for all angles we have. How to graph it? When I graph it, I'm going to start from 0. If it's 0 also, gives what? Gives 2. So 0 here, this part, or this positive part of the x-axis is called the polar axis. If we start, let's start, guys, here by this point, 0 and 2. So in the second circle, it's 0 and 2. I'm going to change the color to be obvious for all. Let's take here, yes, this one. 0 and 2 lies in this position. Next
Sir,
point,
shouldn't we go up, not to the right? So on the
counterclockwise.
y-axis. Not on the y-axis, on the 0, then up to?
Y2, 0 and 2 here?
Yes.
No, here is pi over 2. Here is the angle pi over 2. So it's 0.
Oh,
when the
okay.
angle is 0, okay, it's 2 here. And then when it's pi over 6, it's 2. Where is pi over 6? Here is the angle pi over 6, and in the second circle here. When it's pi over 3, So in the second circle, when the angle is pi over 2, which is 90 in the second circle, we take a point. When it's 2 pi over 3, also we take a point, and so on, guys. Yeah, if you would like to complete until 2 pi, you're gonna get a points here, 5 pi over 6, okay? And then 6 pi over 6, which is pi and 2, and 7 pi over 6 and 2, and so on. So if you connect these points with a smooth curve quickly, you're gonna get what? A circle. You're gonna get what? A circle. But you should move counterclockwise. So my starting point is from here. Take care. My starting point is from 0
0.
and 2, which is here. Okay? Take care. So we will make a circle up here. So this is my graph. But if we turn back to the previous lesson, which is graphing polar coordinates and its inverse rectangular coordinate, and convert the polar equation to rectangular equation, we will find that r can be written as, how can I say it? R can be written as x squared
X
plus y squared, as we learned in the previous lesson, equals 2. And from algebra 1, we studied that it's an equation of a what? An equation of
Circle.
a circle
Circle.
with center, the center C is the
0,
pole, 0, 0, 0, 0. This point here is the center, which is the pole. It's called the
Yes.
pole. And the radius is what? The radius
2.
is 2. So I moved the 2 units right, 2 units up, 2 units left, 2 units down.
Right and down.
Yeah. So my question is obvious for all now. But listen carefully. If my equation is r equals, second case, when it's r equals a number, r equals c, equals any number you know. When r equals to -2. Yes, let's try here. I will make here a table.
Okay.
Okay, it's called
Theta
T
and R.
chart, and it's called T chart, and here is theta, and here's what R or R and theta. The R is still the same, -2 in this case.
2.
The R is still the same, -2, but the theta are gonna change, guys, or stay the same also. We can say pi over 6 and pi over 3 and pi over 2, which is 90, and then 2 pi over 3. And don't forget to start from what?
0.
Yes, incomplete. I'm gonna graph here, but please pay attention. I will erase first graph. I will use the same polar plane. I will erase this one now and plot the new points from the second table. And let us change the color to black. Yes, listen carefully. When I say 0, we have a point here which is 0 and -2. خلي بالكم. Starting point 0, -2. يعني 0 here and -2. Where is 0 and 2? It was here. But because it's a -2, we have to move to the opposite direction of the polar axis. So my point will be here. So my starting point right now, when equation is -2, r equals -2, is from here. And then we have to move counterclockwise every time. In all this lesson, we have to move counterclockwise. So pi over 6 and -2. Pi over 6 and and the 2 is here. And the -2 should be here.
Here.
Okay. Pi over 3 اللي بعدها pi over 3 and
-2.
And the 2, right? Yes, and -2 becomes here, and so on. Pi over 2 and the 2 is up here. لما تكون -2 نعكسها down, and so on, guys. 2 pi over 3, and so on. 2 pi over 3 is here, so -2 becomes here. So if we connect my points, we have a point like this, okay? If we connect the points from the starting point لازم نبدأ and move counterclockwise, so we can graph this equation r equals -2. Also, as a rectangular equation, x squared plus y squared equals -2. So the radius is 2. The radius is 2. You will find that your radius is 2. This is the first example. We can name it example number 1. Consists of two parts, A and B, when R is positive or R is negative. Same circle, but different what? Different starting point. So both of them are equal, but the difference between the two cases that the starting point when R equals 2 from here. في the second case, when it's R equals negative 2, the starting point from 0, negative 2 from here. Okay? I'm going to take here one more example, but when the question is asking you, we can name it C, 1C, the first case, C. When theta is equal to pi over 6. It's given theta now equals pi over 6. So let's do here one table, T chart. I will put here R and here what? Theta. I think that the theta is constant, and each time will still pi over 6 each time, pi over 6, right? Doesn't it change? Pi over 6,
yes.
pi over 6, and I'm gonna pick some radius. I'm gonna pick somewhat distances around the pole, like what? Like 0, like 1, like 2, and so on, like 3, like negative 1, and so on, like 4. Okay, we can take negative 1 also, which is the opposite direction of 1, the opposite direction of what? Of 2, which is negative 2, and my angle is still the same, which is pi over 6. Pi over 6. So simply to graph here, I will move back. Okay, I would like to copy here this one again. I will copy it and move here and paste it up here to be easy يعني for in graphing. Okay, here's it guys. Do you see my screen? Is it obvious for all? Okay, تعال نشوف يا شباب. When we plot here the points, listen carefully. Where is pi over 6? I said 0 and pi over 6, so it's here. 0 and pi over 6. The second point, which is 1 and pi over 6. يعني the first circle, and my angle counterclockwise, I will move like this, pi over 6 here. The second circle and the angle is, I'm gonna move pi over 6 here, and the second angle. The third circle, the fourth circle, the fifth, the sixth, and so on. Or the opposite direction. The opposite direction when it's a negative 1, when it's a negative 2 and pi over 6, a negative 3 and pi over 6,
negative 4,
and so on. So if we connect the point, what's the resulting graph? Yes? What's the resulting graph, guys? When we connect, it's a line. Okay.
A linear line, sir.
Linear equation. So if you remember, guys, from the previous session, the previous week, previous lesson, how to convert the polar equation to rectangular equation, we can find here what we can take the tan for each side. Okay, we can take the tan for each side. So tan theta is equal to with me, guys, tan pi over 6. Take the tan for each side and replace tan theta by what? Y over x. Y over x equals tan pi over 6. طبعا انا بعمل كده ليه? To make sure that it's a linear equation, to convert to confirm my graph by converting the polar equation to rectangular one. So y over x now equal the value of tan pi over 6, I remember it, which is 1 over radical 3. When we cross multiplication, both sides are gonna give us 1 over radical 3x, which is written as the linear form, y equal mx plus b. The b is 0, plus nothing here, plus 0. So y-intercept is 0, 0, 0 here. And the slope is 1 over radical 3. So it's a line. So in general, guys, I would like to say something here. Even you have r equals a number, either positive or negative, you have a circle passing through the second or the third. If it's r equals 5, so it's a circle passes through the fifth circle. And if it's also negative 5, also a circle passes through the fifth circle. But حافظ على direction counterclockwise, and the difference between either positive or negative, the starting point. When it's positive, we start from the positive part of the x-axis. When it's a negative r, negative number, like -2, -5, we start from 0, -5, or yani from the negative part of the y-axis. When the question theta is equal pi over 6 is a line. This line passes through the angle pi over 6, pi over 4, حسب الانgle. Okay? But here it's what? It's a circle. This is the first case in our lesson. Okay? This is the first what case in our
Yes.
lesson. Okay. The next part, guys, of this lesson, when we have the equation, the question asking us to graph r is equal to 4 sine. Let's start first by sine, yes. Let's start by 4 sine theta. 4 sine what? Theta. We have formal graph that you should follow and draw the t-chart and so on, and we have informal graph. So let's start first by the formal graph, the one that you should do now. But the informal graph, yani the quick graph, you can do the quick way, you can graph this equation. I would say for you after we finish the formal one. Okay. Yes. If we have here, guys, r equals 4 sine theta, or written in this form, r equals a sine theta, I would like you to know that your circle simple graph or informal graph will be along the y-axis. Okay, we have here what? Sine. Because it's a sine, so we are along the y-axis. And the a here represents the length of what? The radius. Okay, so how many units we gonna stretch up here? How many units we gonna move up? So you'll say if it's positive 4, my circle will be up here like this. Okay, and the diameter here will be 4. The diameter here will be 4. So this point up here, which is a, positive a. And if it's r equals negative a sine theta, so your circle will be below the x-axis. Your circle like this, and it will be below the x-axis and till here, which is a also. Like -4, I'm gonna move down 4 units. So this is the x-axis and here's the y-axis, and your circle will be below the x-axis. For cosine, if your equation is r equals a cosine theta, so your graph quickly will be along the x-axis. If a is positive, greater than 0, so your circle will be like this. And here is still a, and diameter is a, okay? And if r equals negative a cosine theta, means that a is less than 0, so your circle will be to the left of the y-axis, or in the negative part of the y-axis, the negative part of the x-axis, okay, or to the left of the y-axis, okay? And sure here, this will be a. So this is my conclusion, or the quick way to graph this kind of equation, which is r equals what? A sine theta, or negative a sine theta, or a cosine theta, or negative a cosine theta. So let me, guys, solve this question together by formal what? By formal way. By formal what? By formal way. Okay, the formal way that we have to draw what? The t-chart, which is r and theta, sorry, because I used to do it as x and y, so each time r and what? And theta.
Yeah.
Yes. And let's change it, guys. Change the position of r and theta. Let's make the theta first. Yeah. And here is the r. Because the polar equation is r equals f of what? Of theta. Right? So the input here is theta. The input value. is theta, and the output value is what? Is r.
R.
Output value. So like x and y, the x is the input and the y is the output. Here in the polar equation, the input is theta and the output is what? Is r.
R.
Let's start by pi over 6 and all multiples of pi over 6. Okay? We have pi over 6 and
Pi over 3.
and pi over 3 by multiplying by 2. Multiplying by 3 gives pi over 2, and multiplying by 4, 2 pi over 3, and 5 pi over 6.
5 pi over 6 and pi.
And then pi. And let's stop. When it's pi over 6, what do we have, guys? Substituting 4 sine
4.
pi over 6.
R equal 4.
Because sine 30 is what? Is half. Sine 30 is half, and 4 times half is 2.
2, Mr. equals 2.
Yes. 4 times sine 60 or pi over 3. Sine pi over 3, radical 3 over 2 times 4 gives you 2 radical 3. And when it's pi over 2, which is what? It's 1. And 4 times 1 is 4. Okay? When it's 2 pi over 3, when it's 2 pi over 3, substitute here, guys, 2 pi over 3. Sine 2 pi over 3, and then multiply your
2
result
radical
by
3.
2 radical what?
3.
3. يعني بدأنا نعمل
Yes.
again. طيب 5 pi over 6.
2. 2, Mr.
Yes. اسرع بس الجراف and let's move back here and plot it here. Yes, I need it. It's what?
2.
It's 2.
5 pi over 6 is 2 and pi is 0.
Again.
5 pi over 6 gives 2.
It's 2 and pi
And
is what?
pi
Is 0.
0.
And let's
Yeah.
graph here one half circle, and the other half circle will be with negative what? 1. يلا. We said what? طب 0. 0 and what? Sine 0. Sine 0, 0. يعني we forgot 0, right? 0 and what value? And 0, right?
Yes.
Sine 0
Starting
is
point is 0.
Huh?
The
sine
starting
0
point is 0. Yeah.
starting point 0, which is the pole, the center. And then pi over 6 and 2. Where is pi over 6? Here is it, guys. And 2. يعني عند the second circle, hot point. Okay? And then pi over 3 and 2 radical 3. طيب 2 radical 3 as a decimal. 2 times radical 3, يعني 2 times 1.7. Radical 3 is 1.7. نادر أحمد. 2 times 1.71, which is 3 point something, right? 3.4. So we have to move at pi over 3, at the pi over 3, so the third circle, and we put it here, like this, okay? And then pi over 2 and 4, pi over 2 and the fourth circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, and put it here, okay? Then 2 pi over 3 and 2 radical 3, 2 radical 3, it's 3.42. So where is 3.42? Yes, here is the second circle, the third circle. So the fourth circle is here. When it's 5 pi over 6 and 2, 5 pi over 6 is here, shabab. Start
Then
from
the
pole,
second circle.
1, 2, and put in the second circle, and pi and what? And 0, يعني we return back. طبعا if we connect the points and we move, لازم تمشي counter clockwise, you're gonna get something like this تقريبا, which is what?
Circle.
It's a circle, right? So it's a circle above the x-axis, and because it's a sine, we are along the y-axis, either up because 4 is positive. Yes, it's up, guys. So it's what? It's positive. عشان 4 is positive, so the circle is above the x-axis. If the 4 is negative, your circle will be below the what? The x-axis. And that's it. And also, خلي بالك, if you count هنا أنت, what's the diameter of this circle? Gives it what? 4. The whole diameter here is what? Is 4. So we have simple way to do this, guys. When we have A equals, when we have A, let's do it here. Yeah, let's graph. 1 minute, please. Change the color. Yeah, let's graph here. This equation R equals 6 cosine. ناخد واحدة cosine. 6 cosine yes, cosine 3 theta. And let's stop till here and write the rule here. Pay attention, please. In the previous question, we have for sine theta only. No number next to the theta, right?
Yes.
But here when we have n, بنسميها n, which is the coefficient of theta, it has a rule. So listen carefully. When r equals a sine n theta, where is it? It's here. We write n theta, or r equals a cosine n theta. Yes, what? بدام دخل فيها n يبقى دي اسمها rows equations or rows curves. هيطلع لي الشكل بتاع الجراف ده يطلع لي ايه؟ rows curves. What does it mean by rows? Rows يعني like this. Okay?
Yes.
And you know, like a flower, and each one of these graph is called what? Petals. Petals, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. How to do it quickly, guys, because I know it's gonna take a long time if we move it by a formal way, a formal graph, by drawing a table and then plot the points as we did in the previous questions. No, I have here a simple summary of how to graph the rows equations, or r equals a sine n theta, or r equals a sine n theta. Listen carefully. How to identify? What is a first? First step, number 1, is to find the a. And the a stands for the length of the petals. The length of what?
The petals.
Okay. Number 2, you should know number of petals. Number of what? Petals. Number of petals depends on the n. Number of petals depends on what, guys? Depends on n. If n is even, pay attention, please. If n is even or n is odd, we will start by the easiest one, which is when n is odd. Yani if we have r equals 3 sine 5 theta, so I have 5 petals, okay?
Yes.
When it's odd, it stays the same. Number of petals is the same as number of n, equals n. But when the n here is even, like 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on, number of petals equals twice the n. Twice what? The n. So this is my second step in graphing the rows curves. If it's even or odd. If it's even, when n is even, so number of petals twice n. For example, r equals 6 cosine 3 theta. This equation we have. So how many petals we have? We have 3. Exactly the same as the value of n. But when n is positive, if the equation is r equals 6 cosine 4 theta. So how many petals we have?
For
عدد البetals اللي هي هذه.
8.
I have هنا 1, 2, it will be 8 and so on. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, the third step you should do, guys, which is to find where the first petal starts. To find where your first petal starts. Yeah, the first petal starts by substituting, pay attention please, we should substitute A for R. Substitute A for what? For R. Okay, and solve for theta. عشان أعرف where the first place of the first petal. What is the first position? Our first petal starts فين? And solve for theta. Replace ال A for R. يعني مثلا ال A here is 6. I'm gonna write here 6 equals 6 cosine 3 theta. Okay? And solve for theta. شوف ال theta فين. The fourth step is to what? Rotate, to find the rotate petals. Rotate. This all is not in your book, guys. Rotate petals. يعني how many? يعني the rotate petals, guys. يعني I draw the first one. So the second one after a day. After how many angles? Okay. So I'm gonna divide 360 divided by n. Divided by what? By n. Gives here the number of petals. So let's do the equation we have here, which is r equals 6 cosine 3 theta. Yes. What's the value of a? نبدأ نحل بقى الكويستشن نفسه. Who can help me? A is what?
6, Mr.
A equals 6.
This is the first
Length
step.
of petals.
The second step, yes, which is the length of petals. يعني I'm gonna move
Yes.
here 6. I'm gonna move here what? Till the sixth circle. Okay.
Yes.
The next step is to find what? The n.
No, n. N is odd, so
N equals
The n is
Three.
3, which is odd. So
Odd,
the number of
yes.
what? Petals
is 3.
is 3. Stay the same هنا. Number 3. Yes, where the first petal starts. The first petal starts at, how to do
Substitute
this?
A for R, solve for theta.
Substitute A for R. How to do this? 6 equal
6 equals 6 cosine 3
cosine
theta.
3 theta. And dividing by 6 each side gives 1 equals cosine 3 theta. So hide the 3 theta with your finger and say cosine what angle is 1? Cosine 0. Right?
Yes.
Cosine 0 is 1 and also 2 pi, right? أيوه. So we will start by cosine 0. Cosine, so 3 theta is equal to 0. And now your angle is what? Is 0. So I'm going to start here from 0. When angle is 0 degrees. Okay, يا شباب. Cosine what angle gives 1? Cosine 0. So we let 3 theta equals 0. And then divide by 3 each side gives the angle is 0. So my starting, the first petal starts at 0. Okay, and then number 4, the important step to find the rotate petals.
360 over 3.
360 divided by 3 اللي هي the value of n اللي فوق هنا ال n. So 360 divided 3 it's 120 degrees. يعني كل 120 degrees. I'm starting from 0 and move to 120 and then 240 and so on. I have 3 petals and I have a rose graph and 3 petals. So I will make back and take here a graph من الجاهزين دول to be easy. اسرقه and move here guys and plot it here. Do you see it?
Yes, Mr.
Yes. Yes, here's the graph. Wow. Okay. Yes, let's graph it here. بسم الله. Change the color كده ونشوف مع بعض how to graph this one. Let's make it black. يلا نقول we start from what? A6. يبقى احنا شغالين على السكت ايه circle 1 2 3 4 5. So I have to draw one more what? Circle. للقفص. Okay, here is another what? Circle. The sixth ايه circle. Okay, and then
6.
we start from what? مش أنا step 3. The first petal starts at 0. When it starts with 0, so what we have here? The first point. أبدأ من 0 and 6. يعني أروح عند 6 and take a point. Okay, here guys, the sixth circle اللي هو اللي أنا رسمتها زيادة لأن مش موجودة. عند 0 and here put point and 6. Okay. And then we move counterclockwise. We have to move counterclockwise like this. Okay. What should we do? همشي قد ايه يا شباب؟ همشي 120.
120 degrees.
Yes, excellent. 120 degrees جبتها من هنا من الفورث ستيب. طيب من 0 to 100 120 degrees as radian كم؟
2 pi over 3, I think.
Divide by 180. Dividing by 180 and multiply by pi. So I'm gonna do it here. 120 divided by 120 is what? 2 over 3?
Yes, Mr. 2 pi over 3.
2 pi over 3. طيب, and what,
Yes.
Mr.? and 6
6.
يعني we'll move here 6 units and put a point here. طبعا اللاين ده يطلع كده معاك. Understood guys؟ here عندي 2 باي over 3 يعني 120 degrees and take a point. So here is the first one and here is the second point. The third point is what?
240.
أمشي من 120 أزيد عليهم 120 so we are in 240. 240 times pi over 180 to convert it to radians gives what guys?
4 pi over 3.
Yes, 4 pi over 3. Great. 4 pi over
3 and
over
the
3.
sixth circle.
Correct. فين 4 pi over 3? It's here. And the sixth circle, number 6 يعني عشان ايه؟ عشان ال A ب 6 represents the length of the petal. The length of the petal. Okay. طب connect the points بقى. Connect the points. Let's draw here this one and I'm gonna use this one. How to draw your petals? I'm gonna start from 0 0. شوفوا يا شباب هبدأ كده. Okay, and return back. And listen carefully. لازم أمشي counter clockwise, so I have to move like this first. خلي بالكم نزلت تحت and move. لازم تعدي بالزيرو 0. تعالى يا مستر. كله اللي أنا ماشيه إيه؟ الله يا سلام. Okay, is it good, guys? Yes. It's called what?
Yes, good.
Rose
curve.
R equals 6 cosine 3 theta. So I have three petals here. The first one, بس خلي بالكم من الدايركشن. I moved like this and like this. طبعا هنا it's تخينة شوية من هنا. We have to be the same. No problem يعني. It's informal graph. Okay, and then like this. Without using the T-chart and plot some angles pi over 6 and the multiples and then substitute by calculator and then plot the points. This is the easiest way. So لو سألتوني what's the important part, guys, here. The summary here at the right. R equals A sine n theta and R equals A cosine n theta. طب اللي قبلها كانت n is 1. So no problem. The circle maybe if it's a sign above the x-axis and the radius is the value of A, or the diameter, sorry, is the value of A till here. And when A is negative, we just plot it down the y-axis or below the x-axis. When it's a cosine to the right of the y-axis, when it's a negative A cosine to the left of the y-axis, that's simple and easy. Okay, when we have n, we have to stop and follow the 4 steps we have here. The 4 steps we have here. Number 1A represents the length of the petal. Okay, and you should know from the beginning that it's the rose curves. بعدين it has petals, and A represents the number of petals or the length of petals. Okay, number 2, number of petals. You can find it by using what? N even or odd. Even, so we have double the n, and odd we have the same number as the n, the same number of petals as the value of n. Step 3, where the first petal starts, substitute A for, you will not find all these steps, guys, in the textbook. You will substitute A for R and substitute, find the A, theta is 0, rotate petals, يعني every at the A, we rotate every 120, which is 360 divided 3. Okay, the period is finished, right? But when you graph, guys, I would like you to try to graph here these 2 equations and send for me the answers as a homework. So your homework here is to graph y equals, let me find 2 questions, 4 sine 2 theta. 4 sine 2 theta. We have n here is even, and letter B, graph R equals negative 4, and letter C, graph theta is equal to pi over 4, and letter D, the homework is only 1 question, take care of. Letter A, B, C, D, R equals 4 sine 2 theta, we took it, okay.
4 sin theta, Mr.
ناخد واحدة cosine.
4 cosine theta. The circle one.
4 cosine 4 theta. So we have 8 petals, okay? So this is your
Yes.
homework. Thank you. And inshallah, we're gonna solve the same questions and start. This is all the first and second case. We still have 4 cases, okay?
Mm.
Thank
Okay.
you and goodbye. Salam